The letter arrived 3 weeks after her father died. No return address. No stamp. Just her name. Elena Voss. Written in a handwriting she hadn't seen in over 15 years. Elena didn't open it right away. She let it sit on the kitchen counter while the coffee machine hissed behind her, while the clock ticked louder than it should, while something in her chest tightened, for no clear reason, because she already knew who it was from. Her father. Or, at least, something that used to be. He had been dead for 3 weeks. That's what the lawyer told her. That's what the document said. That's what should have made this impossible. Elena finally picked up the envelope. It was thin. Too thin to matter. Too light to mean anything. Still, her fingers hesitated before opening it. Inside. 1 page. No greeting. No explanation. Just a single sentence. The well is yours now. A pause. Then, don't let it stay empty. Elena frowned. The well? There hadn't been a well on the property. Had there? She hadn't been back in nearly 20 years. Not since the night she left. Not since the argument. Not since the silence that followed. Still, something about that word, well, felt familiar, in a way she didn't like. That same afternoon, she called the lawyer. Yes, he confirmed. The property is entirely yours now. The house, the land, and the well. Elena's grip tightened on the phone. There is a well? A pause. Longer than it should have been. Yes, he said, carefully. Though it hasn't been used in years. Your father was very particular about it. Particular how? Silence again. Then, Miss Voss, I think it's best if you see it yourself. That should have been enough. Enough to stay away. Enough to forget it. But she didn't. The drive took 6 hours. The road narrowed the further she went. Trees grew thicker. Shadows stretched longer. And the air felt heavier. By the time she reached the property, the sun was already setting. The house looked smaller than she remembered. Older, like it had been waiting. The paint peeled. The porch leaned. And the windows. The windows didn't just reflect her. They watched her. Elena shook it off. It's just a house, she muttered. Just a place. Just something she left behind. But when she stepped out of the car, the silence hit her. Hard. No birds. No wind. No distant sound of life. Just nothing. She walked to the front door. It creaked open. Before she touched it, Elena froze. Her breath caught. Then slowly, she exhaled. Wind, she whispered. Even though the air was completely still. Inside, the house smelled like dust. And something older. Something damp. Something buried. She moved through the rooms slowly. The kitchen. The hallway. The staircase. Everything was exactly where it should be. But it didn't feel right. It felt shifted. Like something had changed while no one was looking. Then she heard it. A faint sound. Metal. Creaking. From outside. From the backyard. Elena turned. Slowly. Her heartbeat rising. Just enough to notice. No, she whispered. I'm not doing this tonight. But her feet were already moving. Step by step. She reached the back door. Pushed it open. The sky had darkened. Purple fading into black. The trees stretched long shadows across the yard. And there, at the far end, she saw it. The well. Old. Leaning. Half hidden in overgrown grass. A rusted pulley hanging above it. Swaying gently. Creak. 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 Elena's breath caught. This wasn't here. But the words felt wrong. Because deep down, she knew it was. She had seen it before. A long time ago. She just didn't remember when. Or why. As she stepped closer, the air changed. Colder. Thicker. Heavier. And the sound, it wasn't just the pulley anymore. There was something else. Something deeper. Something below. Elena stopped at the edge. Looked down into the darkness. And for a moment, she just listened. Then, very softly, from somewhere deep inside, she heard it. A voice. Elena didn't move. Not at first. Because if she stayed still, completely still, maybe it wouldn't happen again. The voice. It had been too clear. Too close. You came back. The words didn't echo the way normal sounds do. They didn't fade. They stayed. Like they had weight. Like they belonged there. Elena forced herself to breathe.
Slow.
Controlled. "This is stupid," she whispered again. But this time, her voice betrayed her. It trembled slightly, just enough to make her notice. Carefully, she leaned forward and looked into the well.
Darkness.
But not empty darkness. This felt different. Thicker. Like it wasn't just the absence of light, but something that existed on its own. Like it was hiding something. "Hello," she called, barely louder than before. Silence. The pulley stopped creaking. The air went still. Even the weight in her chest seemed to pause for a moment. And just like that, everything felt normal again. Elena let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "Just dress," she muttered. "You drove 6 hours. You're tired." She turned away, ready to walk back inside. Ready to pretend none of this had happened. Snap. The sound cut through the silence, so sharply it made her flinch. Elena spun around instantly. The rope. It had dropped, slamming hard against the inside of the well. But it didn't stop there.
It moved.
Slowly. Unnaturally. Like something below was pulling it. Her chest tightened. "Stop," she said instinctively.
She didn't know why she said it.
Or who she was speaking to. The rope jerked again. Then stopped. Hanging halfway into the darkness. Elena stared at it, her thoughts racing between fear and something stronger.
Curiosity.
Because that voice, it hadn't sounded angry. It hadn't sounded violent. It had sounded familiar. She didn't remember deciding to step forward again. But suddenly, she was right at the edge. Closer than before. Close enough to feel the cold air rising from below. Close enough to hear something else. Not words. Breathing.
Slow.
Steady. Waiting. Elena's hand reached for the rope. It was cold.
Damp.
Like it had been sitting somewhere it shouldn't. "This is insane," she whispered. But she didn't let go. Instead, she pulled. The rope slid upward easily. Too easily. No resistance. Like there was nothing attached to it anymore. Until something appeared. Cloth.
Old. Torn.
Darkened with time. Elena's breath caught.
Because she recognized it.
Before she could even process how. It was part of a sleeve. A shirt. Her father's. She stumbled back instantly, letting the rope slip from her hands. "No," she said, shaking her head. "No, no, no." Her father had been buried. This wasn't possible. The rope swayed again.
Creak. Creak.
And then, the voice returned. Closer.
Clearer.
"You shouldn't have left me down here." Elena froze. Her blood ran cold. "I didn't," she started, her voice breaking. "I didn't do anything." Silence followed. Heavy. Oppressive. And then, a soft sound, like fingers, dragging slowly across stone.
From deep inside the well.
And suddenly, a memory hit her. Not complete. Not clear. Just a fragment.
Rain. Her father shouting.
The well. Open. Waiting. Elena staggered back, her heart pounding violently now. "No," she whispered. "That's not real." But it felt real. Too real. And for the first time, she understood something. This wasn't just about the well. It was about something she had forgotten. Something her mind had buried. Something that was starting to come back. Behind her, the house door slammed shut.
Hard.
Elena jumped, spinning around. The porch light flickered once. Then died. Darkness swallowed everything. She was alone. With the well. And the voice. "Come down." Elena ran.
She didn't think. Didn't stop.
Didn't look back. She ran straight for the house, her breath uneven, her heart pounding so hard it blurred everything else. The back door.
Locked.
She grabbed the handle and yanked. Once.
Twice.
"Open," she snapped, panic rising fast. It didn't move. Behind her, the well creaked again.
Slow.
Deliberate. Elena didn't want to turn around. But she did. The rope was moving. Not falling. Climbing. As if something was using it. Her stomach twisted violently. "No," she whispered. backing away. No, no. The rope stopped. Halfway. And for a split second,
She saw it. A hand. Pale. Thin.
gripping the edge from inside the darkness. Elena screamed. The front door. She had to get to the front door. She ran around the side of the house, her shoes slipping slightly against the uneven ground. Her thoughts crashed into each other. Fragments of memory pushing forward.
Rain.
That night. Her father. He wasn't just angry. He was afraid. She reached the front porch and threw the door open. This time it worked. She slammed it shut behind her and locked it immediately, her hands shaking so badly she barely managed it. Silence filled the house again. But it wasn't the same. This silence felt closer, heavier, like something had followed her inside. Elena leaned against the door, trying to steady her breathing. Think, she whispered. Think, Elena. The well. Her father. That voice. None of this was random. It meant something. It had to. She moved slowly into the living room, her eyes scanning every corner, every shadow. And then she saw it. A photograph. On the wall. One she didn't remember. Elena stepped closer. Her breath caught. It was her. As a child. Standing beside her father. And, between them, the well. Her pulse spiked. I don't remember this, but there it was.
Clear.
Undeniable. The glass cracked, a thin line spreading across the surface. Elena jumped back as it continued, slowly, deliberately, right across her father's face. Then, a whisper, right behind her. You remember now, don't you? Elena spun around. No one was there, but the air felt colder. And then, it hit her. Not a fragment, a full memory. That night. The storm, her father dragging something toward the well. Elena standing in the doorway, frozen, watching. Stay inside, he had shouted. But she didn't. She followed. She saw. Elena gasped, dropping to her knees. No, that's not what happened. But it was. It had to be. Her father wasn't alone. There was someone else. Someone screaming, begging. And the well wasn't empty. The floor creaked behind her.
Slow.
Heavy. Footsteps. Inside the house. Elena looked up slowly. And then, she heard it. From above. Dragging. The sound above her head didn't stop. Dragging.
Slow.
Heavy. Like something was pulling itself across the floor. Elena didn't breathe. Didn't move. Her eyes stayed fixed on the ceiling. That's not possible, she whispered. The second floor was empty. She had checked. There was nothing there. The dragging stopped. Right above her. Then, a soft thud. Something had dropped. Elena flinched. Every instinct screamed at her to run. To leave. To never come back. But she couldn't. Because now, she understood. This was connected to her. To that night. To what her father had done. The stairs creaked. One step. Then another. Something was coming down. Elena slowly stood, her entire body tense. Who's there? She called. No answer. Just another step. Closer. Then, it stopped. Halfway down. Elena swallowed. Dad, she whispered. Silence. Then, a wet sound. Like something shifting. Twisting. The figure moved. Slowly. Unnaturally. And then it leaned forward. Just enough. For her to see its face. Elena screamed. It wasn't her father. Not anymore. The face was wrong. Stretched.
Pale.
The eyes too deep. The mouth slightly open. And the skin.
Wet.
Like it had been submerged for years. You left, it rasped. Elena shook her head violently. No. I didn't know. The figure took another step down. Bones cracking softly. You watched. Her stomach dropped. Because that part was true. I was scared, she cried. I didn't know what to do. The thing tilted its head. Too far. Too slow. Come back. The lights flickered.
Once. Twice.
Then went out. Darkness filled the room. Elena ran. Straight for the door. She didn't care anymore. She just needed to get out. She grabbed the handle, twisted,
pulled.
It didn't open. Behind her, footsteps, closer,
Faster.
then a whisper, right against her neck. You have to finish it. The lock clicked, the door opened, and Elena ran, back into the night. Elena didn't stop running until she reached the edge of the yard. Her chest heaved violently, each breath sharper than the last. The house stood behind her, silent again, but she could still feel it watching, waiting. No, no, I'm not staying here, she muttered, pacing in circles. I'm leaving. Right now.
Her car.
She just needed to get to her car. That was it. Simple. Normal.
Real.
The gravel crunched under her feet as she rushed toward the driveway. Her hands fumbled inside her bag, searching for her keys. Come on, come on. She found them. Relief flooded her. Brief, fragile. But the moment she looked up, she froze. The car door was open. Elena's grip tightened around the keys. I didn't leave it like that, she whispered. She was sure of it. She always locked her car. Always. A cold wind brushed past her. The first wind she had felt since arriving. Slow, deliberate. And then, the car door creaked, moving slightly, on its own. Elena took a step back. No, she said under her breath. No, I'm not doing this. But something inside her, something deeper than fear, pushed her forward. Step by step, she approached the car. The interior was dark, too dark, like the shadows inside were thicker than they should be. Elena. She froze. The voice came from inside the car. Her throat went dry. Who's there? She asked, barely able to get the words out. Silence. Then, a faint movement from the passenger seat. Elena leaned slightly closer, her heart pounding so hard it hurt. And then, she saw it. A figure, sitting there, perfectly still. Her breath caught. No, she whispered. The figure slowly turned its head. It was her father. Or, at least, something wearing his face. His eyes were wrong. Too dark. Too empty. You remember now, he said quietly. Elena stumbled back, shaking her head violently. You're not real. You're not real. The thing in the car smiled faintly. You were there, it continued. That night. Her vision blurred. No, I don't. Yes, it interrupted. You watched. The world around her seemed to shift. The air grew heavier. The ground beneath her feet felt unstable. And suddenly, she wasn't standing in the driveway anymore. She was back there. The storm, the rain pouring down, thunder shaking the sky. Her father stood near the well, drenched, his hands gripping the rope tightly. And beside him, the man, struggling, bleeding, screaming. Please, the man cried. I won't tell anyone. Elena stood frozen, exactly where she had been that night, watching it all unfold. Stay inside, her father shouted. But she didn't move. She couldn't. The man's eyes locked onto hers, desperate, terrified. Help me, he begged. Her heart pounded. Her feet felt glued to the ground. She whispered. Her father noticed. Elena, he said sharply. Go inside. But she didn't. Instead, she stepped closer. The memory became sharper, clearer. Her father shoved the man toward the well. The man resisted.
Fought.
Elena, her father barked. Grab the rope. Her breath caught. This was the moment. The moment she had tried to forget. I don't want to, she said weakly. Do it, her father snapped. The man screamed again, begging,
Crying.
And Elena reached for the rope. Her hands wrapped around it, and she pulled. Back in the present, Elena collapsed to her knees, gasping. No, she whispered, tears streaming down her face. The car was gone. The driveway was empty again. But the memory remained.
Clear.
Unavoidable. I helped him, she said, her voice breaking. Behind her, the well creaked,
Slowly.
as if responding. And the voice
Returned.
"Now you understand." Elena turned slowly toward it, her face pale, her eyes filled with something new. Not just fear. Acceptance. Because now, she remembered everything. Elena didn't stop running until her lungs burned. The cold night air cut through her chest, but she barely felt it. Her mind was louder than her body, fragments of memory slamming together, refusing to stay buried any longer. "You have to finish it." The words echoed again. Finish what? Her steps slowed, because deep down she already knew. The well stood ahead of her, silent now, still, as if nothing had happened, as if it had always just been an old, forgotten hole in the ground. Elena approached it slowly, her breathing uneven. "I'm not going back there," she whispered to herself, but her feet kept moving. The edge of the well felt colder than before. The air rising from it carried a damp, rotten smell, like something that had been sealed away for too long. Elena looked down. This time,
She saw something.
not clearly, but enough. Something reflecting faint light from deep below. Water. There was water at the bottom, but it wasn't still. It was moving,
Rippling.
as if something beneath it was breathing. Her stomach twisted. "That's not possible," she said, her voice trembling. The well wasn't that deep, and yet, she couldn't see the bottom clearly. The darkness swallowed everything. Then, the surface of the water shifted.
Slowly.
Deliberately, and a shape began to form. Elena's breath caught. A face, looking up at her, from beneath the water. She stumbled back, nearly losing her balance. "No," she whispered. But the face didn't disappear. It stayed there, watching, waiting. And then, it opened its eyes. Elena screamed, but the sound died in her throat when the thing beneath the water smiled. "You remember now," it said. The voice wasn't coming from the well. It was inside her head.
Clear.
Sharp. Impossible to ignore. Images flooded her mind. Not fragments. Not pieces. The whole truth. That night. The storm. Her father dragging a man toward the well. Not just any man. A stranger. Bleeding.
Begging.
He saw too much, her father had said. Elena had stood frozen, watching from the doorway.
She remembered that now.
Every detail. Every second. "Please," the man had begged. "Don't do this." But her father hadn't stopped. He had pushed him to the edge, forced him down. And Elena had stepped forward. Her hands started shaking violently. "No," she whispered. She didn't want to see the rest, but she couldn't stop it. She had grabbed the rope, helped lower him down, not to save him, but to make it easier. Tears streamed down her face. "I didn't understand," she said, her voice breaking. But the truth didn't care. She had known. Not fully, but enough. Enough to stop it. Enough to scream. Enough to run for help. But she didn't. "You helped him," the voice whispered. The face beneath the water twisted into something darker. "Now you finish it." The water began to rise.
Slowly.
Unnaturally. Climbing the walls of the well. Elena stepped back. Her heart pounded harder than ever before. "What do you want from me?" she cried. The answer came instantly. Cold. Certain. "Come down." The rope dropped suddenly over the edge. Swinging gently. Waiting. Elena stared at it. Her mind screamed at her to run. To leave. To never look back. But something stronger held her in place.
Guilt.
And the feeling that this wouldn't end unless she faced it. Slowly, her hand reached for the rope. And this time, she didn't let go. The rope creaked under her weight. Elena lowered herself slowly into the well, her hands trembling as they gripped the damp fibers. The cold hit her immediately, not just on her skin, inside her, like the darkness itself was pressing against her chest. "Just a few feet," she whispered to herself. "Just look and come back up." But the deeper she went, the quieter the world above became. the house, the wind. Everything disappeared. All she could hear now was the sound of her own breathing. And something else.
Dripping.
Water. Her feet touched the wall briefly, searching for support. The stones were slick.
Wet.
As if the well hadn't been dry for a long time. That doesn't make sense, she muttered. The lawyer had said it was unused. Abandoned. But this felt alive. The rope jerked slightly. Elena froze. Hello, she called into the darkness. No response. Then, a whisper, right below her. Almost there. Her grip tightened. I'm not staying, she said quickly. I just want answers. A soft laugh echoed upward. Not kind. Not human. You already know the answers. The air grew colder, heavier, harder to breathe. Elena's feet finally hit something solid.
Ground.
She exhaled shakily and let go of the rope. The darkness around her was suffocating.
Thick.
Unnatural. Okay, she said, her voice shaking. I'm here. What now? Silence. Then, a faint glow appeared, at the center of the well. Elena turned slowly. Her eyes widened. The water. It wasn't just a small pool. It filled almost the entire bottom.
Dark. Thick.
Moving. And in the center, something stood, half submerged. A figure. Elena's breath caught. Who are you? She whispered. The figure tilted its head, water dripping from its face. You know who I am. The voice matched the one from her memories. The man. The one her father had thrown into the well. You died, she said. The figure took a step forward. The water didn't ripple. No, it said softly. I waited. Elena stepped back instinctively. I didn't mean. You helped him. The words cut through her like a blade. I was a child, she cried. I didn't understand. The figure stopped. For a moment, it just stared at her. Then, it smiled. And now you do. The water began to rise again. Faster this time, climbing toward her feet. Elena turned toward the rope. I'm leaving, she said, panic rising fast. But the rope
was gone.
Her heart dropped. No, she whispered. Behind her, the water reached her ankles. Ice cold. You don't leave, the figure said. Elena spun around. What do you want from me? The answer came slowly.
Deliberately.
Take my place. The water surged upward. And something beneath it grabbed her leg. Elena screamed. The grip tightened instantly. Cold fingers wrapped around Elena's ankle, dragging her toward the center of the well. She clawed at the ground, her nails scraping against the wet stone.
No.
Let go, she screamed. The water surged higher, up to her knees now, then her waist. The figure stood unmoving as she struggled, watching, waiting. You can't escape this, it said calmly. Elena kicked wildly, managing to break free for a second. She scrambled backward, her heart racing out of control. There has to be another way, she cried. The figure tilted its head again, curious, almost amused. There was, it said. You chose not to take it. Elena shook her head violently. I was a child. I didn't know what he was doing. The water stilled for a moment. Then, the figure stepped closer. You knew enough. Those words hit harder than anything else, because they were true. Tears streamed down her face. I was scared. The figure stopped inches away from her, close enough for her to see its face clearly now. The skin was pale,
sunken,
eyes too deep, but not empty, full of something worse. Awareness. You still are, it said softly. The water rose again, up to her chest now, cold stealing her breath. Please, she whispered. For the first time, the figure hesitated. Then, it spoke again. There is one way. Elena's eyes widened. What? The figure crouched slightly, bringing its face level with hers. You finish what he started. Her mind raced. What does that mean? The figure's smile widened. Someone else takes your place. Elena froze. No, she said immediately. I'm not doing that. The water surged violently, covering her shoulders now. Then you stay, the figure said. Panic exploded inside her. There has to be another option. Silence. Then, a whisper. You could have saved me. The guilt hit her like a wave. And now, it continued. You want saving? Elena broke. I'm sorry, she cried. I'm so sorry. The well echoed with her voice. For a moment, everything stopped. The water, the movement, even the figure. Then, something changed. The grip on her leg loosened. The figure stepped back slowly. And the water began to sink. Elena gasped for air, collapsing forward as the level dropped to her waist again. What? She whispered. The figure stared at her, silent. Then, it spoke. Climb. Elena looked up. The rope was back, hanging just above her. Her hands shook as she reached for it. Why are you letting me go? She asked. The figure didn't answer immediately. Then, softly, I'm not. Elena froze. What does that mean? The figure's smile returned. You'll come back. The rope swayed slightly, waiting. And somewhere deep inside, Elena knew. It was right. Elena climbed faster than she ever had in her life. Her arms burned. Her hands slipped more than once on the wet rope. But she didn't stop. She didn't look down. She couldn't, because she could still feel it. Something below her, watching, waiting. Don't look, she whispered to herself. Don't look. A sound echoed from beneath. Splash. Elena's breath hitched. It was climbing. No, she whispered, pulling herself up faster. The rope jerked suddenly. Hard. She screamed, nearly losing her grip. Something had grabbed it. And it was pulling. Let go of me, she cried, climbing desperately now. The opening of the well felt impossibly far away. The darkness below stretched endlessly. Another pull, stronger. Elena's arms screamed in pain. She was losing strength. And then, a hand shot up past her, grabbing the edge above. Elena froze. Because whatever was climbing was faster than her. Slowly, another hand appeared, then a shoulder, and then the head. It pulled itself up beside her. The same face, smiling. You can't leave me behind, it whispered. Elena screamed and pushed herself upward with everything she had left. Her hand finally reached the top, gripping the edge. She pulled herself out, collapsing onto the ground beside the well. For a second, she didn't move, didn't breathe. Then, she rolled over slowly and looked. The well was still, silent, empty. No hands, no face, no movement. Elena let out a shaky breath. It's over, she whispered. But deep down, she knew it wasn't, because the ground beneath her was wet. Not from rain, from something else. And behind her, a voice. Soft. Close. I told you you'd come back. Elena didn't run this time. She stood still, facing the well, her breathing slowly stabilizing as something inside her shifted. Fear was still there, but it wasn't in control anymore. Now, there was something else. Understanding. I remember, she said quietly. The words felt heavy. Real. Final. The wind returned, stronger now, circling around her like it had been waiting for this moment. The rope hanging from the well began to sway again. Creak, creak, creak. You always did, the voice replied. Not from the well, not from the house, but from everywhere. Elena stepped closer. Her legs didn't tremble this time. Her hands didn't shake. I didn't just watch, she continued. I helped him. Silence followed. Not empty, but listening. I told myself I was a child, she said, her voice tightening. That I didn't understand. That I didn't have a choice. Her eyes fixed on the darkness below. But that's not true, is it? The air grew colder. I knew something was wrong, she whispered. I just didn't want to stop it. The water deep inside the well rippled. You chose, the voice said. Elena nodded slowly. Yes, she replied. I did. For the first time since arriving, the weight on her chest shifted.
Not gone,
but clearer. So what now? She asked. The rope dropped suddenly, landing against the stone wall with a dull thud. Now, the voice said, calm and certain, you choose again. Elena stared at the rope. She already knew what it meant. She could walk away, leave the house, leave the well, forget everything again.
Or
she could finish it. By taking his place, she said quietly. The silence confirmed it. Her stomach twisted. Or by giving it someone else. A faint whisper of movement came from the darkness below. Yes. Elena closed her eyes. For a moment she imagined it. Someone else. A stranger.
Lost.
Pulled into this place. It would end her nightmare. Free her. Her hands clenched. No, she said firmly. The air tightened instantly. No, she repeated, louder this time. I'm not doing that. The well reacted. The water surged violently. The rope snapped upward slightly, as if something had yanked it from below. Then you stay, the voice said. Elena opened her eyes. There was no hesitation left now. Maybe I should, she replied. The world seemed to pause. What? The voice asked. Elena stepped closer to the edge. I don't deserve to just walk away, she said. Not after what I did. The wind stopped completely. And I'm not dragging someone else into this, she added. Silence. Heavy. Uncertain. For the first time, the voice didn't respond immediately. Elena took another step forward, her toes now at the very edge. So this is it, right? She asked. This is the only way to fix it. The water below stilled. Yes. Elena nodded slowly. Her heart was still pounding, but her mind was calm. Then I choose this, she said. And before fear could return, she jumped. The darkness swallowed her instantly, and the well closed around her.
The fall didn't feel like falling.
It felt like being pulled. The darkness wrapped around Elena, thick and suffocating, pressing in from all sides as if the well itself had come alive. She couldn't tell how far she had dropped, couldn't tell where the walls were. Then, impact. Cold water swallowed her whole. Elena gasped, but the sound never escaped. The water filled her ears, her nose, her lungs. But she didn't drown. Instead, she opened her eyes.
And saw.
She wasn't at the bottom of the well anymore. She was somewhere else. A vast, dark space stretching endlessly in every direction. The water around her wasn't water anymore. It was something thicker, slower, like time itself had turned liquid. Shapes moved in the distance.
Faint, distorted.
Elena turned slowly. Her body no longer felt like her own.
Light.
Weightless. You came back. The voice. She turned toward it. The figure stood before her, clearer than ever now. Not just a shadow, not just a drowned face.
A man.
The same man from that night. You chose this, he said. Elena nodded. I did. For a moment, they just stared at each other. Then, something changed. The anger in his eyes softened, just slightly. Why? He asked. Elena swallowed. Because it was my fault, she said. No excuses this time. The space around them shifted, the darkness rippling like it had heard her. You think this fixes it? He asked. No, she replied honestly, but it's a start. The man studied her.
Long, carefully.
Then, he stepped closer. You're not the first, he said. Elena frowned. What do you mean? His expression darkened again. This place, he said slowly. It doesn't end with me. Her stomach dropped. There were others before me, he continued. And there will be others after. Elena shook her head. No, that's not how this works. I'm here now. I'm taking your place. The man tilted his head slightly. You think that's enough? The darkness around them shifted again. Faster this time. More violently. Elena's chest tightened. Then what is enough? The man didn't answer immediately. Instead, he stepped aside and pointed behind her. Elena turned slowly, and her heart stopped because she saw them. Dozens of shapes, standing in the darkness, watching, waiting, all trapped, all part of the same place. This isn't a punishment, the man said quietly. Elena's breath trembled. It's a chain. The shapes began to move, slowly, toward her. And now, he continued, you're part of it. Elena stepped back instinctively. No, that's not what I chose. The man's expression didn't change. It's what you stepped into. The darkness surged. And the voices all began whispering at once. Stay. Elena couldn't breathe, not because she was drowning, but because of what she now understood. This wasn't justice. This wasn't balance. This was something worse. A system. A cycle that fed on guilt, fear, and silence. I won't stay here, she said, her voice shaking but firm. The whispers grew louder. You already are. The figures moved closer, their forms becoming clearer. Faces. Dozens of them, each one filled with the same hollow awareness. Elena backed away. There has to be a way out, she said. The man watched her carefully. There is, he said. Hope sparked. What is it? But his expression didn't change. The same way you came in. Her stomach dropped. No, she whispered. That's not an answer. It is, he replied. Elena's mind raced. The same way she came in. The choice. Her breathing slowed. Her thoughts sharpened. This place only exists because people accept it, she said slowly. The darkness reacted. The whispers faltered. You came here because of guilt, she continued. Because I believed I deserved it. The man said nothing. And everyone else here, she looked around, they did the same. The figures hesitated. Elena took a step forward. So what happens, she asked, if I don't? Silence. Heavy. Uncertain. The man's eyes narrowed slightly. That's not how it works. Elena shook her head. No, she said. That's how you think it works. The darkness began to crack. Small at first, like fractures in glass. I did something terrible, she said, and I'll live with that. The cracks spread. But I'm not staying here to make it easier for whatever this is. The whispers turned into something else now. Not calling, not begging. Breaking. The figures around her began to distort. Flicker. The man stepped back. For the first time, he looked unsure. You can't just leave, he said. Elena met his gaze. I already did once, she replied. The darkness shattered. Light tore through the space. Blinding. Violent. And suddenly, Elena was gasping. On the ground. Beside the well. Morning light poured over the yard. Birds chirped in the distance. The air felt normal. She coughed, pulling herself up slowly. Her body ached, but she was alive. She turned toward the well. It stood there, silent, still, empty. No movement, no voices, no darkness. Just a well. Elena stared at it for a long time. Then, she stepped back. And walked away. Without looking back. Because some things don't need to be finished. Only faced. The end.